We
Yeah.
get multiple 3, 2, 1s in our new magical
Whoa.
recording studio. Yeah. I have something for the listeners. We, in the next month or so, are
What?
probably doing video.
No.
I don't know
I
why anybody would wanna see
I
us on video.
that that makes me scared because now I have to actually like hook up my internet better or something. Ah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, if you saw us on video right now, you'd see a
Mhm.
unopened box of comics in the background, Funny Book Forensics T-shirt. Below that unopened box of comics is the unopened Impossible Jones I said I was gonna read on the last podcast, still sitting there. I've got a Flash, stringer backpack that we got in Omaha.
Nice.
Yeah, it's, very exciting. I'm just identifying everything in my background here. And, of course, the Crisis poster you
Sun
can't
shines
see
on
because the
it
sun's
all the
shining on it,
time, unless it's dark.
because my studio is, perfect. Yeah. Well, the sun does
It
shine
does.
on George Perez art all the time, and that poster is the original George Perez line art painted over by Alex Ross,
Too amazing.
which, you know,
Yeah.
I
I
heard
I
those
hear the
guys are
same.
good. Yeah, I heard, and I'm a little snuffly today, so if you get the, dulcet tones of, the late night
Oh,
radio,
man, is it like wait a minute,
it's a little
which late night
radio.
radio are we talking? Are we talking jazz, or are we talking conspiracy radio? And you know what I'm talking about, coast to coast.
I think we go with either. Well, Art man, the
Yes.
dearly departed Art Bell, yeah. George
Yeah, no
Norrie just
offense,
wasn't the
George, but
same. No offense,
Art Bell,
George.
I that was like I would listen to Art with my dad. My dad would get like, "Yeah, we should go check that stuff out."
How about, well, maybe we should, in honor of Art Bell and my healing, ask the world to come together at once in positive thought.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they used to do on the show once a year, remember? They used to ask all of the listeners to
If
create
you do it at
positive
the
thought
same
at the
time,
same
it's like a
time.
thought quake. Everybody thinking positive thought at the same time, but you gotta have it timed just right.
I mean, well, and I think you are severely limiting in your options here for late night radio. Perhaps I wanted to be Delilah
Delilah.
Love Someone Tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I know that's on Anne's, like, you hit all the buttons on the in the van for the Retro Emporium, and that is one of the choices, and at night, that is definitely you hit the button, and there it is. There's Delilah talking to you each night, and every night you're driving the van home from the shop.
Yeah. Delilah is a very good example of
Ooh,
do as I say and not as I do.
I don't wanna go down that road because I know I've that's a whole lot of unpacking we don't need to do on the show.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I
I I
wasn't gonna unpack it, but you were
I
going to.
was, I
Like, you
did,
started to
because
in your
there's
brain, but
I've
I
I've
wasn't
I've
gonna unpack
I've
it.
been down that road, and it's painful.
Well, we should roll into, The Human Target, book number
Umbrella.
11,
There
because
is.
there's a lot to unpack here
I
too.
keep clicking the buttons. Yeah,
Because in the last issue, thanks to Gnort,
yeah.
Christopher Chance now knows that Guy Gardner is alive and now is pretty darn
Oh
sure
my
that Ice murdered
gosh.
him. I mean, on accident, because
I
she was
don't
trying to
know,
kill Lex
man. That's,
Luthor.
it's cold as ice.
But still, yeah. And just by the way, listeners, it's a couple. I think it's 3 issues
Mhm.
in now. I've read the first issue. Tom King is doing a Jenny Sparks
Mm.
series from The Authority, and the foil in that book is one Justice League International alum,
Yeah,
Captain Atom. So if you're looking for more of Tom King grabbing the characters
yeah.
from the Justice League International era and messing with them, there's you got another book.
There you go.
And don't ask me to talk about the Authority or Jenny Sparks at all. I have honestly no idea. Those are always things I wanted to go back and read because I know Keith Giffen picked
Yeah,
that up after Grant Morrison.
I think so.
So, it was Grant Morrison, right? Yeah, I probably could confirm this later. I'm not too worried about being right about that part. I'm just right about the Keith
You're
Giffen
like, "I
part.
know this."
So, yeah, could have
Right.
been Alan Moore. It was probably Alan Moore. It was probably Alan Moore. It was probably
You're
Alan
gonna have
Moore.
somebody's gonna fact check you and come
I
back.
mean, honestly, in hindsight, it was probably Alan Moore. That's fine. By the way, Jason, listener Jason, also the
Pop
host
culture.
of the
The,
oh boy,
Sunday comics,
Sunday comics,
yes.
cartoons, comics, and cereal.
What? I was gonna
I
say pop
got it.
culture nerd,
See, I didn't need to look it up.
yeah.
Did go ahead. Yeah, it sent us a confirmation that indeed Christopher Chance has more minutes on television than Wolverine does
Whoa.
in the movies. Yes, this is why this is why I really don't need any to do any research because we have our crack listeners to fact check us. Let's sure. And most of the time, our listeners just know I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. But in this case,
That
my
you
guess
were
was right.
correct. It was it, it's unfathomable. Dan was correct. Usually are.
I mean, now there is still time. I'm sure there is still time for Marvel slash Disney to milk a little bit more out of
We're gonna
the
find out
Wolverine.
that Wolverine was actually, he was actually the greatest showman, and the whole entire time that he was performing as
Ugh.
as the greatest showman, it was really the Wolverine, and, we're gonna roll that movie in.
I believe for three episodes in a row, you
I
brought up
love
one
that
of my least
soundtrack.
favorite movies,
The
either
movie is so
intentionally or unintentionally.
the
That movie is terrible. The
the
soundtrack is terrible.
the
It
movie has
sucks.
moments in it I like, but as someone who comes from a circus family, there's things that I don't like about it. The soundtrack is really good. I like the soundtrack. Yes.
So I
The
was
Greatest Showman?
discussing
Yeah.
this with a friend.
Okay. uh
Yes, an actor friend who also works with me, but has acted around the world, in musicals, acted in regular things. Uh, and I said, uh, you know, the movie Fish is
Hmm.
The Greatest Showman. The movie Big Fish should just replace The Greatest Showman
Okay.
and be the P.T. Barnum movie because
Do
it's
you
just
think
better.
Big Fish is better than Big Top Pee-wee? Oh, for shame. I
Yes.
think Big Top Pee-wee is better than Greatest Showman, and Big Top Pee-wee might even be a bit better than Big Fish.
Big
I
Fish is one of the best movies
I
ever
don't
made,
know.
so
We might have
no
to.
offense to Big Top Pee-wee, but you don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
Have you
have,
watched Big Fish?
and I can tell you Real Big Fish is a great band.
It's
Seen them in
fantastic.
concert a few times.
No, not Real Big Fish.
No, they're not. They're
They're
great.
terrible.
No, Big Fish is a good movie.
Mhm.
It is. It is a good movie.
Well, but I'm just saying
Great.
that's
You
what
think Greatest Showman
Greatest
should have
Show
been
should have been.
Big Fish?
Well, like, the mythos in Big Fish is just better, right? Like, if you're
Mhm.
trying to show P.T. Barnum, right? Like, the whole P.T. Barnum thing is to be the greatest showman, not sing about it. And if you wanna have a musical, that's fine, but you can't keep saying, "I'm the greatest showman," and put out a terrible movie.
But I mean, you gotta think about it. If indeed he was really Wolverine, just being the Greatest Showman, that's
Well, that would make
what I'm
sense. That
saying.
that would make sense. Is
That's what
Wolverine
I'm saying.
trying
We
to be
find out
terrible. Yes.
that really P.T. Barnum was just Wolverine. It was just one of his incarnations. He wanted to try something different. What if P.T. Barnum was really Wolverine? Just trying something different.
I
Oh,
mean,
it
it's
is.
possible. I mean, since P.T. Barnum was in real life and Wolverine is a fictional character created several years. after P.T. Barnum. Okay, anyway, if we were in some sort of multiverse mashup and there was a world where Hugh Jackman
Yes.
was Wolverine for real and then was playing P.T. Barnum
Mhm.
in a terrible movie, I guess that
Could
could
work.
work.
Could work.
Uh, and just by the way, Jason let us know that Hugh Jackman had roughly 1,127 minutes of Wolverine, not counting First Class or
Okay.
Deadpool 2 cameo.
That's including
Mark Valley spent roughly 1,500 minutes
dang,
playing human targets Christopher Chance. So even if you add in the other Hugh Jackman pieces, the
including
human
Greatest
target
Showman
wins.
as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yes.
He also says that if the human target had been on CBS and not
Oh, yeah.
Fox, it would have lasted
100%.
12 seasons.
Yeah. It
Well, I'm
would've gone
thinking Paramount,
yeah.
probably,
It'd
but
have
we
been
talked about
it would
that
have been moved off the
last time. Yeah.
yeah, it'd have been moved
It
off of it
CW show
moved
or
off of the
Paramount,
broadcast and onto the streaming network, lived there for a handful of seasons.
or if it'd been on the
Oh,
CW, I mean,
probably.
it would have been on
And
there
then
forever.
ported over to Tubi. No? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. Well, I don't.
What? Tubi's for everybody. It's for everybody. Kid
Tubi makes
for
me
teachers
frustrated.
that want it for their classrooms and kids that break windows.
Anyway, so
It's just like, "Arr." I
why are you bringing up the worst thing today? You're just bringing up the worst thing today. That commercial is god awful.
I know. I
It's just so bad. Like, you're okay. Why are we hitting me? Like, I'm not feeling super great
I'm
today, and we're
sorry.
hitting me
Okay,
with
let's
all
jump
the
into this
bad
book.
things.
Let's jump into this. Yeah,
Can we get
we're
away
off of The
from The
Greatest
Greatest
Showman.
Showman? Like, can you, like, throw up a picture of just ripped Hugh Jackman for
I
me
don't
to
have a
look at
picture
to
of him
wash
to
that
show
out of my
you,
brain?
but we can jump into Christopher Chance
Oh, okay.
doing his dance.
Alright. Fine.
Fine,
Uh,
fine.
fine. Fine. You know what? While I'm in this type of mood, it's also probably a perfect time to bring up
Oh,
our
yeah?
affiliated partner who helps promote our podcast. Yeah, one project-nerd.com. You can find Project Nerd all over
Yeah,
Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, and they talk about all sorts of things like, the life of Pi.
the look on your face is fantastic.
That's why we need video because they would have seen you slowly go into a giggle, as I said that because I knew you would have no idea where I was going with that, and I also had no idea where I was going at that. So Project Dash Nerd, go there. They have cool memes. They have cool
The
content.
Life of
Go check them
Pi,
out. That's all I got
where he
today.
fights a tiger.
And we're on I said it because we're also
Yeah,
now
Blue
on
Sky.
Blue Sky,
Jump on yeah, jump on over there with
Funny
us
Book
and
Forensics.
come find us there. I got asked by a handful of people this week,
Yeah,
"Where are you guys on Blue Sky?" And I was like, "We will be, so come and find us." Yeah,
we're on Blue Sky now. When you listen to this podcast, we're on Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky when I'm recording this podcast. So I
we're
just released an
we're Blue
episode
Sky
on Blue
guys.
Sky. So we're there.
Of course we're on Blue Sky. We're Blue Sky guys. Of
Yeah,
course we release podcasts on Blue Sky. We're
they're
Blue Sky
smiling at
guys.
me.
Of course we post on Blue Sky.
They're smiling.
We're Blue Sky guys. Of course
They're
they're
smiling at me.
smiling at you.
They're smiling at me. Yeah, they're all I see. Blue Sky, and all I see is a blue cover. This cover is
Yeah, we should
awesome.
cover
We
talk
probably should
about
talk
the
about this
cover,
book. I
Dan.
don't know why
Tell
I've
us
been
about the
delaying.
cover.
Um, well, if we had better video and somebody who had a desire to edit this podcast, which neither of us do, maybe we could have pasted this cover on here. So it looks like ice is sitting there, and it looks like somebody did a
Mhm.
charcoal sketch of Christopher Chance in the background. all on a white cover. By the way, when I got this cover as a cover as a book,
Mhm.
I was like, "Damn it, a white cover."
If you're collecting these books, this would be a cover you'd be like, "Oh, that's really cool. Oh, this is
Yeah,
gonna get messed up."
yep. But, it does look very, very cool, and we've shifted the focus of the book from Christopher Chance to ice, and they do it right out of the gate with the cover because Greg Smallwood is brilliant and can draw a cover to do exactly that. And we get the Human Target book 11, and here we go. Oh, we get an advertisement, and then we get into the book. All right, so um, we get some more. We get the initial dialogue page.
Mhm.
Nobody's on this one. It's just water. 4 panels of water, white background. It's unfortunately not everyone is about to get killed. Being a human target isn't always steady business, but the bills still come. So when the cash is thin, I run a side gig
Mm.
as a prisoner. You get convicted in court. I show up to jail. I do your time. Eventually, I break out and go back to my life. He's kind of a slime bag. It's like just the more we find out about Christopher Chance, the more I don't like him.
Is it
But maybe good they don't let us know that
right?
until 11, issue 11. I'm sure he has some sort of standards for which people he will do
They're
that
they're
for, right?
they're not bad guys, just kinda bad guys, you know? Yeah,
Maybe they're
maybe
people that weren't really
they, you
guilty.
know,
I don't know.
it was, they didn't really do a crime.
Well, then we get back and uh him and Ice are on the beach and he talks about his dad teaching him how to skip rocks. And you get a really cool painted scene. Or him and his dad. Sorry, it's not Ice. That's the next page. It's kind of this view of them skipping rocks. And then uh they come back and they go to the beach together. Apparently Christopher Chance's car is up and running again. Now, I feel like the real true hero of this book
Hey.
is the body shop, the unnamed body shop that takes care of Christopher Chance's car.
I know, this
I
car has been
mean,
through
they
a
do
lot
yeoman's work
in
and
these
they're
11 issues
fast.
so far.
I wonder if he has them like on speed dial or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, that must be because he's clear. He uses his phone in his room, not a real cell phone, right?
Mhm.
So
He's old school.
was he like just having? Well, anyway, Uh, Ice is talking now. It's back to the scene of the crime. Don't you know, Christopher, murder is bad, but a girl can do
Mhm.
a lot worse. Now we get our summary. Last time on Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Played the Dark Magician. That was 11 days ago. But the game has gone on. And you see, when
You can't do it.
can't keep doing that without laughing. As the game moved on, Joey, who
Oh,
Yu-Gi-Oh! Never thought he'd be battling
oh
with
my.
because they're best friends, played. Didn't Joey always play the luck cards? Yeah, Joey always plays the luck cards. I'm trying to
You
remember
know
the
more
names of
than
one of
I
the luck
do
cards.
at this point.
Well, anyway,
I
yeah, are you out of your
what?
element here? You know what I need right now?
Because he could tell you.
I need jujitsu lawyer Paul.
Mm.
He could tell me what cards Joey would play. Well, anyway, we get the summary, and uh, Chance notes he kept Ice close while he went through the investigation, but then he fell in love. But it turns out his original intention it was correct. Ice and Fire tried to kill Lex Luthor, and then they tried to cover it up. And now they've had fun, and now he's coming back to hang out with her on the beach, even though he now
Mm.
knows that she killed him. But during that time, they fell in love. This is a crazy plot
All
twisting book
crashing
here.
down, man.
And instead of trying to hurt her or argue or fight, they go swimming
I mean,
and
it's
make out.
sweet. He leaves his flask on the beach and everything. Yeah,
I mean, that is generally what you do with your murderer, right? You
exactly.
make out with them and you go
He's in
swimming.
love, man. He's only got a few days left. Few day. A few day.
Few days. He's got, like,
Yeah,
a
one
day.
day.
This is it. This is day 11, 12. Yeah, he's gonna be dead tomorrow. If if Doctor Midnight is correct, and Doctor Midnight is certainly never wrong, Doctor Midnight, as we discovered,
Yes.
long-term member of the Justice League of America. I can remember Doctor
Every
Midnight
book.
being in all of those Justice League of America books.
All of them.
Every all of them, yes, but Doctor Midnight has definitely said, that he's not gonna make it, and then Ice makes them a big ice floaty with a palm tree,
Yeah.
an ice tree, an icicle palm tree, and a nice thing to lie on, and she looks at Chris and says, "Why didn't you go to the league?" And he looks back and says, "Why didn't you kill me?" And, that spurs, silence for a second, and then Ice says, "I should have. Even a few days ago, I wake up and there you are, not a breath in you. I could have just let you lie there. It would have been easy." And he's like, "Well, I appreciate you doing it the hard way." She's like, "Oh, I bet." And then he's like, "Will you miss me?" And she tells him to shut up. And he's like, "I got lucky, you know. I won't
Oh,
miss you. I'll just be gone." And
dang.
that gets Ice to start crying.
I don't know who's colder, him or
It's
Ice.
harsh.
I think she's met her match.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we get back to the reason
Mhm,
why. So we had the big reveal. But in a terrible run of Justice League after the
mhm.
cool run of Justice League International we read, Ice is taken over by an outer space being, as was recapped a few issues ago and a few episodes ago. And Ice is fighting them, but she says, she figures out that she's been betraying her friends, and she goes to fight, and she fights, big brave words for justice, and hey, uh, the creature turns around and kills her, and she shares
Mm.
it's the one time she felt alone, and she went to a place where other people lived their whole lives in, and that was it. I was effing punished, she says, and then they brought me back. She says, "I asked him about the overmaster that killed him, the man who'd done it. They smiled and comforted me and told me that he was long gone. The battle was won. I was safe. I could go on being who I was. They were so happy. Isn't that fantastic to be safe?" And then she said, "A few years pass, and I spend as kind, sweet Ice, and then guys in my house ranting and raving, letting her know Luther is the one who did it, brought Overmaster, and we have to do something," he says. He has a whole
Ye
plan for revenge. I'm sure Guy
Yeah,
Gardner's
I
plan would have
mean,
went out with off without a hitch.
he's a real cool hand Luke, that guy.
Yeah. And she's just watching Guy pace back and forth, and she's thinking, I know I'm going to kill Lex Luthor."
Mm.
So she gets together with her best friend Fire and tells her it'll be simple. I'll snap my fingers and Lex's heart will freeze.
That would've been cool.
That would have been really cool, actually.
No pun intended.
But Fire talks her out of it because she doesn't want her friend to go away again.
It is sad.
This is just really sad. But Fire was a spy and she knows about what could get by Lex's security. And that's how they start getting all the
Mhm.
bagel ingredients. So
Pre-toasted.
they go in. Yep. Yep. You had to bring it up. So they go, they go and they get everything, the poison, and they set it up in the coffee and they're ready to go. And then she reveals how they tricked Chance into thinking that Guy Gardner was dead, right? And
Mhm.
Guy Gardner was just all a diversion this whole time. He apparently used his ring to bend light to make him think
No.
that he shattered all over the ground. And then after that, she is patient and waits for him to die. And then it's all over. And Chance just thinks, there it is, mystery
Wow.
solved.
Bam, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Then he asks her, And then he asks her a curious question after all that. Could you freeze the ocean? The whole ocean?
Huh.
And she says, "Why would I freeze the ocean?" She's like, "I'm just asking if you could." And she's asking why. And he goes back to thinking about skipping rocks and then comments, "Hey, I never did hear you tell the truth." And then he falls in the water and like she's like, "It's slippery, you don't wanna break your neck." And then he's like, "There are worse ways to go."
It
Golly,
is.
it's getting dark in this book. And Ice is like, "Jesus, Christopher, when you found out you were poisoned, you didn't. You're dead. Does it matter who killed you?" He says, "I'm the human target. All I do is die and find out who killed me." And she's like, "No, that's not all you do." And then they get back to doing what they've done throughout the book.
No swear. Yes.
Remember, no swear words, but
It's
lots
gotta
of
be cold
sex.
on that little island, but they make the heat.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't know if that's the but bum. Well, they go back to the boardwalk and start to head home, and then Ice breaks his car because this car
Yeah.
has been
Just
through
like,
so much.
bam!
Multiple leaguers have destroyed her car. Multiple leaguers have destroyed the car. Christopher Chance destroyed
Mhm.
his own car, thinking Batman was chasing him. Uh, Ice has destroyed it a couple times. Uh, anyway, and Ice starts yelling, "I'm not sweet and nice." And he says, "Ice?" And she
Damn.
says, "Fuck you," and hits him. I mean, she says, some sign, percent sign, pound sign, at sign you. Uh, and then she starts saying, "I did it. I fucking did it. I crossed that fucking line again, and you won't even have the fucking courage to fucking care. Fuck you."
Mhm.
So now it's
Apparently.
all about Ice, apparently. And she just continues a cussing tirade. "I'm tired of all this. It's so fun building fucking castles. What's left then?" She says, "It was all a fucking scam. Don't you understand? I'm a fucking monster. How fucking stupid are you?" And Chance comes back in, is like, "It wasn't a scan. It wasn't you. You killed me. You didn't. And do you think it matters? The poison doesn't care, and neither do I." And she's basically saying, "You're a stupid ass. This isn't fucking a disguise. You tear off." And she's like, "I did it, and you owe me." And then she keeps her cussing tirade up, and she grabs Chance's gun and
Oof.
points it at her head,
Oh my gosh.
and she wants him to kill her.
This issue is so dark.
And then she just looks up and says, "I love you."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some issue 5 vibes,
They're
doesn't it?
alone on a beach,
Anyway,
gun to her
uh,
head. It's a really nice scene, really. I mean, the one panel
yeah,
page is very,
it's a
very
great scene. Then we
s
get
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the art's beautiful. It's a nice sunset with her about to be murdered on the beach, potentially. And then we get a last page. "The day is done. The gun in my hand. My finger brushes against the trigger. We all go down.
Oh,
To be continued."
um, uh-huh.
You wanted more, right?
Nicely
You wanted the
done.
end. We got an issue.
Yeah.
We got a 12th issue here. I mean, this is really good. I think I like how Ice kind of goes back, but it's more of like
Mhm.
a frustration than an anger, right? Like we just don't get the "I'm Agatha all along" vibe here. We've been given all of the clues and all the storytelling we need to know it was Ice. Ice always had the motivation. It's not just out of nowhere, even in last issue,
Mhm.
right? The Guy Gardner thing was kind of out of nowhere. If you want to argue there was a MacGuffin anywhere or some lazy storytelling, but definitely with Ice, right? All the clues are there all along to tell you that she did it. It shouldn't be a surprise
Right.
that she would want to kill Lex Luthor. They talked
Yeah.
about the Overmaster thing earlier in the book. I was messing up earlier on the podcast because I was reading a anniversary issue uh, of Zero Hour, so I kept wanting to say it was extant and not Overmaster. But, either way, I mean, all the
They're
big
all the
baddies in
same.
the mid-90s sucked anyway, so there you go. Kinda. No offense, Carl Kiesel, who I referenced earlier.
He's coming for you, Dan.
Lo Loving Impossible Jones, sir. Loving Impossible Jones. Uh, but yeah, I think, the, uh,
It is.
the the book's just really good. It's one of those you gotta read it again. I know we've been covering them. The art's amazing and carries you through the story. In this case, I just how are you feeling
I
about the way they
I really
portray
like
ice
it.
in this book?
I feel like, it's been done very well. Uh, the 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 overall noir feeling of it is definitely like, you have a feeling when you meet her, there's a lot more there. And as you get to know her throughout the issues and know her issues, uh, you get to see all those things kind of unfold and unpack, bringing it back to the earlier unpacking, circling around. But yeah, you really get
Yeah,
to see all that and get to know her as well as all the other characters. They did a really good job in getting you there through all those issues, and um, I really like that. But I definitely like how um, the two characters, Christopher and Ice, develop their friendship, their rapport, their relationship in this short amount of time, and get to this point that they're at. Uh, it's as much as we're at right now, and with her frustration, I can see that it makes sense, but it also makes sense from the Christopher standpoint of like he's just happy that even though he knows this situation is dire, he knows where he's going, he knows what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. He's just happy that I'm projecting my own feelings on this, but I can imagine that he's like, "Hey, I made the best of my last 12 days, even if it is with the person who accidentally killed me."
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Uh, I I like I like giving Tom King a
Mhm.
universe like this to play in because when he did, some spoilers are coming away for a book that is 5 years old,
Oh,
so
jeez, Dan.
just giving everybody a heads up. But when he did I think we
Uh-huh.
mentioned this before, but when he did Heroes in Crisis and he made Wally West the murderer in the book,
That we never talked about this on the podcast.
that didn't go so well. That did not go so well. Like, in fact, the series ended in 2019, and by, uh, basically 2020, they had
Cool.
already gotten rid of that. By 2021, they'd
It
already
was
gotten rid of
retconned
that
again.
whole ending. Yeah, oh, yeah, and then they brought Wally back. Now Wally's in the Flash book. Because nobody wanted that, and that was just massively out of character for Wally. I mean, now what he did with it in the
Mhm,
book, I thought was quite creative, right? Because, uh, in
mhm.
timeline, Wally was forgotten about, right? And then Wally was brought back, and the timeline sort of melded again. And Wally had lost his family, and so if you read
Mhm.
the Flash comics of the 90s, right, it was all about, and the 2000s, like it was all about Wally and Linda and the
Yeah.
twins and his family, right? And, honestly, some of what made the Flash TV show good, I know some people don't like the end, but they really sort of in some ways made Barry a little bit
Then
more
yeah.
Wally like. And I'm not talking the
Mhm.
Wally of the cartoon, right? I'm talking the Wally of the comic. And so like, the family, the later and they never bring the family onto the Flash show, but like toward the end, they're starting to have kids,
Mhm.
right? They have their kids come back from the future. Um, and, it kind of has that feel, right? And even the Flash family kind of thing, and that was the Flash family thing was all the Mark Waid books in
Yeah,
in the '90s, right? So, with Wally, not with Barry. Barry never had that, like, whole thing going. So, you know, that wasn't met real well. I think when we give Tom King a sandbox like this to play in, and characters, we have talked about this for sure before, at least 3 times, about with Giffen and DeMatteis getting the B-list
yeah,
characters and building Justice League International out of them, right? And they can do
yeah,
more with
jumping on
them
them and
without
saying, "Hey, you can't
editorial,
do
like,
that."
interference. I think we get right. So, there is part of me, there is a little bit of me in this book that's like, I don't think Ice would
Fair,
do that.
fair. But this ice,
Eh,
the one in this book, she would. She's not nice, Dan. She said so
right.
herself.
And it does make sense that you
Huh,
would try to murder your murderer, right? Like, I
justice.
and so, uh, and that's what I will say too. He also doesn't do this in a way where he doesn't
Mhm.
throw away the history of the character. I mean, they almost over
Yeah.
explain the history of Ice's character throughout the book. Almost, I would say they almost over explain. They maybe do over explain it in some
I
respects.
I feel like we get the explanation at least 3, if not 4 times. Um, either her who she is or how she died, um, 3 or 4 times. Yeah,
How
yeah.
she came to be, why she might murder somebody, why her
And I
brain
I
might be
I I think
fractured
it's
by those
for a
experiences.
if it's not you could look at it as over explaining, or you can look at it as, developing that the the theme of why. And in developing that, you need
Yeah,
to ground that character to give that character the onus and the ownership over their actions, in a way that makes sense or makes it understandable for the reader, as to what connects those dots. And I think that Tom King does that by, maybe extending that, um, explanation through the story a few times. Um, yeah, it does feel like it might be a bit, but I think because it's such a long series in a sense, right? And if you're reading this every issue, not like we're reading it in a shotgun for, like boom, 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 but you're getting it every month, you might need a recap and an explanation to come back once in a while because you might have forgotten something here and there. You're not jumping back and reading that previous three issues back book. You don't have the wonders of the internet to
yeah.
let you read them all in a string.
Well, and that's appreciated too because
Mhm.
you look at how this is done, right? And uh they tell a complete story in the book, right? You don't have to go back, and I think that's a good point you're making,
Yeah,
right? And we've talked about the recaps too. Are they necessary? Yeah, maybe. I will say this in this day and age, again, we're not. A lot of people read the graphic novels, so if you're reading this as a
yeah.
graphic novel, maybe you don't need those. But in reading it once a month, which I did, um, it was fantastic to have the recaps. So I can definitely appreciate this. I will say I was just doing a little bit of quick looking back, but obviously, yeah, I know Heroes in Crisis was met with like not not friendly. Fans did not take right, like it
Yeah.
was not great, and DC got themselves out of that. But this series pretty consistently, with the exception of issue 8, which was the one we identified as the one we didn't
Uh-huh.
think was super
Got a
strong.
lot of
That's the Rocket Red issue. Um, every other issue is rated
that's
pretty
good.
highly by critics and readers alike. So, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, readers. I'm even the well, actually, the readers were rated the Rocket Red issue a little higher. Critics dropped that one down a little bit, but
I think,
yeah, I mean,
the issue
yeah,
was one of those
it's
issues where
so it's good. It's a good book.
it needed to be there purely for the mechanic of the storytelling, by getting all the characters in there and to show that, you know, uh, Rocket Red cares for Guy and that
Yeah,
somebody cared for
that
Guy.
somebody cared for
That
Guy at
Rocket
least.
Red
Yeah.
and Guy were friends, and that he would go to any length to help to find him, and that that was, that was the purpose of that book. But for the most part, I mean, I think you and I both agree that it just felt like it was, I don't wanna say forced, but it was a lot of it just, it felt like you could have done like a split issue and slap something else, like 2, you coulda had
Yeah.
2 character books slapped in there.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. It seemed like, in a comic book
Yeah,
form,
yeah.
all of your chapters have to be the same length,
Mhm.
right? Because that's the length of the book. And in this case, yeah, I think you made a good point from a writer's
Yeah,
perspective. You could have split it into two halvesies instead of one book like that. And then I think probably had a better story because I don't think that chapter needed to be as long as it was. But I mean, we're nitpicking Tom King on purpose, right? I mean, that's what we do. Like, I'm asking about the ice portrayal. Is that right? Was there too much backstory? This honestly, this story reads so well, and you fly through the issues when you're reading it. So I don't want to give too much criticism, but I don't want to just sit here and think we're just
right.
completely shilling for the book either, right? Like, it, there are some things that aren't perfect, but
Mhm.
man, it's a really good story, and now we don't
No,
know.
I have.
You haven't read the last issue, have you?
I I did. I mean, like, I
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I was gonna say
so you know what happened, but
no, no, we're not.
we're
But I
not
was
gonna
gonna
tell the
say on the
listener what
flip side of
happens.
that, like the
Yeah,
Batman issue where he thinks he's being followed by Batman, you need an issue like that drawn out, for the tension and for the suspense. It
yeah.
makes it that much, the reader is so hungry to find out, is there going to be an encounter? Is Christopher right? Is he being followed? Is this going to turn into a street brawl between the Dark Knight and Christopher Chance at some point in this book?
Well, far be it from us to
No, no, no,
Monday morning
no.
quarterback and tell Tom King what to do. But maybe in the Rocket Red issue, Rocket Red is able to sneak up on Chance and beat him up a couple times because he's
Oh,
starting to think about Batman being there, and then that slides into
ah,
the whole next issue. Because the Batman thing
mhm.
does sort of come out of nowhere, right? And
Yeah,
that's not normal for this book. I think maybe that's why the Rocket Red issue and the Batman issue are a little bit, not the Batman issue is fantastic, but I mean, a little bit, the Rocket Red
mhm,
issue is a little bit jarring because it sort of comes out of nowhere. But if you weaved those two things, and the
mhm.
reason he's slipping against Rocket Red is because he's worried about Batman a little bit, and then we get
Get
into the
5
next
pages
issue
of
and he's
Rocket
off his
Red,
rocker about
5
Batman,
pages of Rocket Red, and the
that could have
rest of it's
been,
all him running away thinking he's being chased by Batman.
yeah, or he's being chased by Batman and
Oh
that's how he
my.
gets duped by Rocket Red, right? So, like, at the beginning of that Rocket Red issue,
Yeah,
instead of just him being just grabbed out of the room, like, he leaves the room and he's like, "Oh, I've gotta get ice here, and
mhm,
I've gotta go here, and I've gotta set up these things," and then Rocket Red, like, gets him
yeah,
because he's all
uh,
worried about those things instead and not thinking about that. Um, but again, I mean,
yeah,
we're Monday
yeah,
morning quarterbacking a
it's true.
two-time Eisner winner, so, and it is, but yeah, I'm just thinking, how could those things that's what we do here.
Yeah,
How could those things flow a little bit better? Maybe that's it, but yeah, I mean, but on that note, I think that's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. We might wanna wrap this one up because
yeah, that's
we
right, we
don't
don't
want to
wanna
give
give it away.
away issue 12,
Go read it.
but we would love for you to read it. We'd love
Yes.
for you to read it or you listen next week. So if you haven't yet, grab these, read them. They're fantastic. Uh, you could also too, if you wanna see Greg, you're always welcome to head over to the Retro Emporium on Meeker Street in Kent, Washington, and
I
it's the
will
holiday
be.
season, so
You
Greg's gonna
can
be there a
come
lot
see
on
me
the weekend.
and, yeah, check out the shop because I will be there, and we'll be there. We'll be slinging all the retro stuff for you at the Retro Emporium.
And
Yeah,
we had listener Sean visit us at the, uh, Grit City Comic Con, and hopefully we passed out a few stickers. Hopefully, some of the folks that we handed stickers out, you're now a listener too, so with Sean, and we were glad to see listener Sean there. Sean got
yeah,
all the issues of Starlight and took off. We had a great time at
yeah.
Grit City. You and Mike,
Met all sorts of
met
people
all sorts of
for
fans.
Junior
Is
Braves, for
impressive.
Absolute Zeros. It was crazy the amount of people. I will say, um, the amount of people that came up for Starlight. I'd met more Starlight backers at Grid City Comic Show than I've ever seen. I a lot of people we interact online and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a Kickstarter book, so all your interactions are online. And but to actually meet people, to hear what they thought about the book, to hear what they wanted to see in the future and stuff like that, it it really was an amazing special moment. I was able to share that with the team. I can tell you that Travis was blown away by the amount of great interactions that were had because he hasn't been able to get out to a lot of shows uh, lately, and just hearing the response from folks just made his day. So he was over the moon.
And, Dev Madden was sitting next to us, and I got to
Yeah,
talk to him a lot. He's fantastic. I highly recommend checking out his stuff at devmadden.com, and, you can go get him to draw something for you if you want, but, it was really fun to sit between the 2 groups too, because he has long-term fans. He had people coming up to him saying, "Oh, my childhood was your artwork and your stories." And you all had people coming up to you going, "My childhood was your artwork and your stories." So, it was really neat, to see, the impact, that was having, and a lot of fun. So, it was fun between, the and it was also interesting because
yeah,
you and Mike have Junior Braves, where it's
mhm,
scouts going out to fight zombies,
yeah,
and Dev has a book called Zombie
right,
Camps, where zombies are going to summer, and then you're selling a
yeah,
book about space camp at the next table. So, yeah, it was kind of hilarious to have those things all in a line. It's almost like we should just combine the 2
yeah.
tables and just put the books in the right order, right? So it'd be like Junior Braves and then Zombie Camp and then Space Camp, or maybe Junior
It
Braves, Space Camp,
It
and
was,
Zombie
it
Camp.
was very
But yeah,
apropos
it
that
would
we're all
be
together, and it fit because I think the shared customers, in the sense, or people looking at everything were like, "Wow, wow, wow," 'cause it definitely you hit the sweet spot of folks that like all the same stuff. So it's cool. And Dev was what?
oh,
I was
this
gonna
is
say,
sick.
and Dev was just like, it was
Oh,
great
go
to
ahead.
listen to you too,
Oh, go ahead.
just nerd out over comics and stuff like that, Dan, because you and Dev were having like great conversations with people.
Oh, yeah, and just well, we were talking about, like,
Yeah.
DC. He was a DC artist, so he said he's a huge DC fan, so as soon as I heard that, we were down. I just saw this sick, callback to the podcast, now we have to rhyme. Sick demon, pencils he's doing.
Oh
These are
wow.
absolutely amazing. You can see them there. Yeah, so
Because of the demon.
now we have to
Now's
rhyme,
the
right?
time.
Now is the
Now's the
time
time to
to
make a
make a
rhyme because of
rhyme.
the demons we're seeing, because it's believing. I don't know. These are deceiving.
I don't know that that rhymed, but, that's all good.
It's all
We
in
don't
the
have to be
timing.
perfect at rhyming, but there we go.
Anyway,
Well,
the
anyway,
dog wants to play,
the dog has just told me and appeared and told me,
so you
"Yeah,
better
it's
move
time
your
to wrap
ass.
up this podcast." So,
I
visit the
said
Retro
the dog
Emporium.
the dog said you
Yeah,
better
the
wrap
what?
up this podcast, so you
What'd you
better
say?
move your ass real fast.
Yeah, I think so.
I am.
Yeah,
Now
you're
you
being
have to
kinda
put that
crass.
explicit sticker. on the podcast because I said the word exclamation point, hashtag, dollar sign. I just
Hashtag. No, it's like at sign dollar sign, at sign dollar sign dollar sign. Well, anyway, uh, if you want to see Greg, like we said, go to the Retro Emporium on Meeker Street in Kent, Washington. If you want to work out and get better, you can go to Certified Martial Arts on Bridgeport Way / Jackson in Tacoma and 27th. So you can go check that out. Go train with Paul. You can also get Paul's legal services. Uh, you can go check out Deb Madden's art at debmadden.com. You can also check us out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, and on that other platform that asshole owns.
yeah, all those things.
All right. So there we go.
No, don't do that.
Goodbye, Tesla. All right.
Ah, I just died inside when you said that. Oh, saw like, oh, like,
Didn't we all die
oh
inside? Didn't we all die
my
inside?
god.
And you know what? That's why we
I
have
was looking for a
comics
button to click.
to make sure we don't die inside.
Yeah,
So curl up with your dog like I
you got
do.
a button.
Oh, I got a button to click. I'll just say, hey, from Greg and I to you, curl up with your dog and read a comic. Be happy. Or your cat or whatever. Or your significant other. I don't care. But curl up with something and read a comic book. Make your
Bye.
life fun. We'll see you next time. Bye.